Time being 9:01, we'll call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I forgot, we need to take off strategic planning for today.
Sure.
And can we add the SNS election contract?
Yes.
And add what?
The contract with,
Oh, okay.
And that would go
Election
6
services.
under discussion items, right?
Yep.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Minutes for last week?
2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, I'm sorry.
No big deal. Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Brian. Engineer Pogozinski, how are you this morning?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I'm on the agenda this morning to request approval of project SAP 028-614-011, which is the paving project on County 14. Had the bid opening yesterday. We received 2 bids. We bid this project as an alternate bid project, so we bid it both asphalt and concrete. We received 1 bid that was for concrete, 1 bid that was for asphalt. The concrete bid came in at $4,373,221.80. The asphalt bid came in at $3,860,141.07, and that is with adjustment factor. That you get a premium on the life cycle cost analysis, you actually add some number to the bituminous. So if you take that adjustment factor off, the bituminous bid ends up being $3,215,470.97. So when you compare the 2 numbers, you take that adjustment, or when you account for that adjustment factor, bituminous is the preferred option. So I'm going to recommend approval to award the contract to Matthew Construction in the amount of $3,215,470.97.
Do we have a motion for
And
that?
going with asphalt instead of
Go with
concrete.
asphalt, yep.
That's okay.
And they checked the box that it'll be a 2016 construction, and they said the bid opening, it looks more like it'd be toward the fall. We did have in the contract to be done by September 30th, so it'll probably be an August, September construction date, anticipate at this point.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Is there a motion to go award the contract?
We'll make a motion to award the contract.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I want to bring one other item up real quick. I brought this up during subcommittee. I've been approached by Albert Lee regarding some airport entitlement funding swap. Nothing is going to happen, or I'm not asking the board to do anything today on it, but I wanted to inform you. They have been in contact with both myself and our consultant, Mean Fund, and the FAA regarding swapping some entitlement funds that the county may not need. At this point, when you look at our entitlement funds from the past, we have not spent, and entitlement money is going to be coming in around end of June, beginning of July. We'll have about $285,000 in entitlement funds. We're at least looking for $150,000, which would lower our amount down to $135,000. We're looking at doing a seal coating or a minor surface project on the runway and approaches and our apron and entryway this year. We don't have the cost estimate prepared for that yet, but our cost estimate might end up being in that $130,000 plus range. So at this point, I've told Albert Lee that we don't know what we have for money available, and we're trying to get the cost estimate updated here in the next week. We also loaned money to the city of Winona for the Winona Airport back in 2009. That contract said that we could request for the money back in 2012 if we needed it for something. We haven't made that request formally to them to get any money back. I have sent a couple emails to Winona along with phone calls to ask them if they have money available to give us our money back we loaned them previously. If we can get some of that money back and then potentially pass it on to Albert Lee so they can use it, and then we keep having that money available as we need it. It's kind of an option we're trying to work through. So at this point, I want to inform the board. The reason why I'm letting you know now before we really know what's going to happen is that the FAA is saying that by May 15th they need to have some type of verbal agreement. I can verbally agree myself that we're going to give them any money, but next week they might not have contract stuff in place to come to the board, but I might want to come back to the board next week and have the board say yes or no, this sounds like something that'll work for Houston County. I'm not going to recommend loaning money out if we're going to need it on a project, so make sure we don't need it first. But that's a possibility. If we can help them out, we should try to go ahead and help them out. So, that's all I have to say.
Good. Yep.
Any questions on that?
If there's anything you know before our next meeting, do you want to just shoot us an email so we know something before? And do you want to have it on the agenda for next week? We could put it on, and if you don't need it, then we can take it off, but I'd rather see it on. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, I need Carol and Andy both to come forward, our finance officer and our IT person.
First. No. Well, this is just bringing back from 2 weeks ago. Carol is with to explain where the money's at.
Okay, so I did send out an email this morning, but I already provided the printed copy also for you. Regarding the money that the board has actually earmarked for specific uses that we can't actually designate by law, and we don't have a policy on it. So the board decided beginning in 2012 that the MCIT insurance premium payback that we get would be designated for capital improvements or used for capital improvements. So the first section shows the amount that's available in there for capital improvements. When we were budgeting for 2016, actually $25,000 had been put in the budget, but then taken out when we were working to balance the budget, because our 2016 budgeted insurance, or 2015 budgeted insurance refund of $99,033, we had used a portion of that for the air handling system. So there would have been a balance of $40,000 in that. So there had been talk about actually getting this started last year. So really I think the $40,000 was designated to be used for this upgrade. So there'd be an additional
25,000
needed out of this money to pay for the entire project. So there would still remain close to $700,000 available for other capital improvement projects that would be coming down the road.
I know we had a little discussion that this was originally in the plans for when they built it, but it was one of the items pulled.
Yes, it was. Well, not everything specifically, but definitely the infrastructure items and some of the equipment was, but when there were overruns on other things, that was like, let's take that out. Let's take that out. And there was contingency money, but that was used up with other things also, so that's why this never got done.
Right. make a motion to approve going ahead with the upgrade at the CJC basement room.
Do we have a second for that motion?
I'll second that. I thought we did that last week, though.
Well, we pulled the motion
pulled the
back, though, till we knew where the money
Okay.
could come
Yeah.
from.
It would be a capital improvement
Budget line.
budget item, okay.
Now, one, so we'll take it out of that 765, right, 765. We talked about this room, and that being something.
One room at a time, I guess.
Well, that's what I'm wondering is. if-
Hopefully I can, get some ideas on what to do to this room based off what we do on that room. So
Go out for bids again?
if we need to, you bet.
So my question is if everything goes well over there and we say, yep, that's working just phenomenal,
Mm-hmm.
we want to implement the same thing over here.
Mm-hmm.
Is there monies in this capital improvements to be able to do that, but not put us in jeopardy? Like, and I know we don't know the cost, but let's just say it's the same
Okay.
for, hypothetical purposes.
I would assume it'd be even less because this is a smaller room and it wouldn't be quite as
Right.
configurable as the other room. So.
Right. So if that be the case, in this capital improvements, is there anything, Carol, that you're aware of that we need to be cognizant of coming down the pipeline that we're going to need a substantial portion of money for out of the capital improvements?
It all depends on the grant applications and the capital funding that's being requested to actually do the roof here.
Roof and the steps, I think.
Yes, we need a match, and based on the figures that we had prior, that it would probably run around $1 million. So we would actually have to have $500,000.
So if that 500,000 was there after this room, that would leave us 200,000 left. As far as we know, we should be just fine. Nothing else that we would
Right,
at this point
and
in
the
time.
fact that we're adding each year, that was a good practice that the county
Yep.
board adopted to designate that money, and it typically runs around $100,000 a year.
Okay.
So, if we're looking at carpeting, some of the carpeting in the departments probably needs to be changed or replaced, and some of the windows.
Yep.
So those are the things that probably would take priority next.
So we're sitting pretty good as far as capital. Okay, cool.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Hey, what's a Lenovo Yoga? Is that a laptop?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That one right there,
Oh,
actually.
okay. I was assuming with Lenovo, but I was like, what's a yoga? And then I thought, oh, maybe it's a part that goes on it.
No,
Okay.
it is.
It's all part of the
that
wellness
one.
program.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right, thanks, guys.
Wellness program.
And Ms. Kruger's not here right now, so let's, how about if we get a motion to place the items on file for the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Do unfinished, since the only thing that I'm aware of is just Brian coming next week to do the deal, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything
So
else
there's
that you think
nothing
No.
else on
No, so
unfinished.
you can just cross that one off the list.
Okay. Ms. Kruger, if you'd like to come forward. Thank you.
Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
Good morning.
Okay, well, have a seat. No, that's okay. It'll go real fast.
All right.
Good morning. At this time, the first item on the agenda is information systems. We would like to, a meeting with, between myself and Andy Meldy, the Director of IT Services. We've gone through our first round of applicants and would like to expand the search. We didn't get a great turnout as far as the number of applicants, and at this point, the search committee, which is comprised of myself, and Director Mildy and Jeremiah Shavers, the other IT individual, have determined that we do not believe anybody meets our qualifications. So we can extend, we will extend our advertising period. We'd like to do that, and of course, we will contact all those that we did interview, and if they would like to continue to express interest and go be considered in the second round, we will consider them in that second round pool again.
Okay, so would they have to re-interview then, probably?
Yes.
Yeah.
They'd have to re-interview and be compared with the new applicant pool, if that. But we did interview, I was trying to think, it's been a while, it's been a month now, I think it was 3 individuals.
So you're going to expand the search right now?
And I believe the pool was 4.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's important to do. Do you need a motion to
And
do that?
I believe one of the individuals was not interested after the interview, and the other one has since pulled back as well, so it isn't, so we are left without a pool, actually.
Do you
Yes,
need a
we
motion?
need a motion to re-advertise.
Okay, could we get a motion to re-advertise for the IT HR position?
I so move.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, we have the Sheriff's Office. And we have, as you know, each year we hire seasonal part-time employees. We're looking at hiring, we recently advertised for a pool of, to have a roster of 67-day sheriff's deputies. The Sheriff's Department has recommended, I believe it's 3 from last year that were previously filled this role, and they're looking at adding 3 more to that. At this time, we're looking at the 3 from last year. I guess I can print that off. Are
Kurt Zender. It's going to be Kurt Zender, Mike Ernster, and Zach Swedberg. They were approved last year and they helped us out. And this year we're requesting Darren DeVoe, Chris Frick, and Seth Laux. And those 3 passed successful background checks, and they are currently employed full-time at agencies throughout the county.
So the 3 from last year have to be reapproved again this year. That's the reason for bringing it forward, because the 67-day roster is only good for the calendar year, or for the, I should say, that 12-month period. So
This is water patrol, is that right? Or
It's a combination of water patrol, road patrol, court security, boardroom security, at the discretion of the sheriff.
okay.
And the water patrol are the only ones paid for by the grant, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're not crossing any of those areas. Okay.
And there are no promises of hours. It's on an ad-need basis.
Yep.
The chief deputy and the sheriff will be able to monitor their budget as they go forward and, make sure that
Okay.
all those.
Do we have a
matters are
motion to
attended
approve those 6 67-day employees?
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you,
And,
Commissioners.
thank you. And that's all I have on the agenda. The other item that's on the agenda was a carry forward of the agenda that I had submitted prior to my leave. Okay?
Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I understand that we will be doing strategic planning probably 3 weeks from today.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go through the discussion items right away. Do I have a motion to approve claims, human services, and license center disbursements?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the letter that we're doing for appreciation to Steve Hill is going around. The tax abatement for Colorans. Does everybody have looked at that paperwork?
I'll make
It's
a
a-
motion to approve the tax abatement for tolerant.
Okay. Is there a second? Second?
Sure, second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we need to adopt the resolution for the Gopher Land Trail maintenance, I think it is, correct?
Correct.
Do we have a motion to adopt that resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve adopting the resolution for Gopher Land Trails Snowmobile Club.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we need a approval for a tobacco license from Valley High Golf Course. Is there a motion to approve this application for a tobacco
I
license?
make a motion to approve tobacco license for Valley High.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't ask if you guys wanted to discuss anything. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, and then we need to, we have added to our agenda the contract for the election contract. And do we have a motion to approve it? It came out and everybody's had a chance to look at it. Do we have a
Went up
motion?
by a penny.
Yeah, a penny per ballot.
Penny per ballot.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the election service agreement.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Commissioner reports. Commissioner Chomey?
I had planning zoning meeting last Thursday night, and I guess I'll report, that'll be coming forward next meeting, and I'll report more in depth what went on.
Okay.
Very good meeting.
It was very good.
That's all I had.
Commissioner Walter?
I had department head meeting last week, and it was actually very good. One of the things, our assessor, Tom Dybig, said that the local board of reviews are going very well, but he's had very few people show up at any of them. But if there are complaints, they've been going right to his office. So he's been dealing with them in that basis. Public Health Director Mary Marshall is working with Winona County on a contract for maternal child care social worker, or not, public health nurse, I mean. Because, and that's setting up a precedent where we can work back and forth. If we need something, they'll help us, and vice versa.
It'll be a contracted service.
It'll be a contract, right? Brian, our engineer, brought up how we're going to be working with our neighboring counties on sharing equipment. He had a request from Fillmore County to borrow something, and it would go under their expense and everything, and we would be able to do the same, sharing equipment a little bit more. So he's working on that. Let's see. He also gave us a report on the roads that they're working on, so. That's basically, it was a very good meeting, very informative. Everybody really had a lot of good information. So, and then I had a CJC meeting the next day, and that was mainly working on their schedule, court schedule. So, I didn't have to put too much into that. And a reminder, our joint Board of Health meeting is May 24th, and June 6th is our district meeting, and we're hosting it. And I see it's at the community center out here in Four Seasons from 8 to noon on I believe the 6th. It's that first Monday in June. So that's basically our meetings.
A couple of things. I don't know if I was the only one that got the letter or everybody else did. I just wanted to verify. Did anybody get a letter from the DNR over the land over in Yucatan? Okay. I was going to bring it in today, and actually it's sitting on my buffet as I walk out. I got a letter from Valerie Green. There's a parcel of land in Yucatan that was getting turned over to the DNR, like what happens usually. She had just asked that if the board had any questions or comments regarding that, she would be more than welcome to come in and answer any questions. So I just figured I'd bring it up, but, you know, it's kind of same old, we do this quite a bit.
Is there some changes in legislation coming with that?
I don't know.
I kind of read some stuff on it, but it's just was in the planning part of it.
Okay.
They should also talk to Yucatan Board,
Yep.
and we should, send a copy to us.
Yep,
or
I'll do that.
something.
It's paper form, so I'll see if I can get it, or I can.
How much land is it?
You know, to be honest with you, this specific, I don't even recall right off the top of my head.
Being
but-
sold to?
Well, it said gifted to, but then it had mentioned something about money, so that's where I'm a little confused. If it was gifted or if it's being purchased, or I don't know, but.
Any designation as to what it should be used for?
No, it just said it was some, I think it was wooded land that was being turned over to the DNR by a family that wanted them to have it, so.
It's not to protect some more snakes or something.
I was just thinking
Not that I know of.
that,
It
too.
didn't give any specifics. It just said that the family was going to turn it over to the DNR. So I can get that for you guys. I'll try and scan it and
Sounds
email
good.
it so that you're aware of it. But that's
Yeah.
going on.
It probably wouldn't hurt to have Val stop in.
Yeah, I can ask her
I
if you
think
guys want.
that'd be
Maybe
all right.
next
Yeah,
Tuesday.
that'd be nice.
Just
Yeah, she
Can we
can
throw that
answer
on the agenda?
questions about it.
I can. We're going to have kind of a full agenda, I'm afraid, with the 2-hour meeting with
Mhm.
Brian, but
I
that
don't know.
probably wouldn't take too long.
No, I don't think
5
so.
minutes just to
Yeah.
Okay.
run through it quick. One other comment, then I got one other meeting. The whole thing about sharing equipment, I just want to say I'm 100% for that.
Collaboration.
Absolutely. And I know a very smart individual, farmer, good family friend of ours, Dylan Hempstead. I remember him saying to my dad one time, we don't all have to own the same piece of equipment. We can share. So I think it's a good thing, especially when it comes to unique specialty equipment that you don't use all that often. We might as well share. And, you know, you can rent it to them to cover the cost. But anyway, I think that's a fantastic thing. One other thing I wanted to bring up. I had a meeting with the gentleman that's in charge of fleet management over for Tri-State Ambulance about a week ago. And it was interesting. I got talking to him because he had asked about the county. He's a resident of the county. And he had asked, what does the county do for their vehicles as far as fleet management? And I told him, I said, you know, to be honest with you, we really don't have anything. And I said, what does Tri-State Ambulance does? And he was mentioning to me there's a deal, it's called GeoTracker, and they put it in all their ambulances. And what it does is it'll list whether or not the individual has their seatbelt on, how fast they're going, where they're located, what maintenance schedules are out there, how many miles are on, and it logs it all. And you can have different like emails or alerts sent to you if, say, the driver doesn't have a seatbelt on. Whoever's in charge, you know, of, say, a department or whatever, can get an email that says, hey, this individual is not wearing their seatbelt. Or, you know, that if, for instance, with their ambulances, they want to have them in certain geographical locations so that they're not all congregated into one area. And so they can put a zone, and it'll alert you if more than one ambulance is within that zone. So it's efficiencies. Their ambulances, what he had told me, Tri-State Ambulance is getting about 240,000 miles out of an ambulance, which is a lot. And a lot of it is because of their fleet management. And one of the other things that he had mentioned was, you know, depending on what they do with their ambulances, and he had mentioned too with our squad cars, it would fit kind of in the same deal. He said, you know, if, instead of having, say, one person in one area running the same vehicle back and forth all the time, the example is if somebody in La Crescent had a squad car and keeps driving to Caledonia all the time, they're going to put a lot more miles than somebody that lives in Caledonia. So after so many years, they switch cars, so the person in Caledonia gets the other one, and then the other person puts miles on the other vehicle. And the reason for that is theirs is based on mileage, not on years. So you might have a car that's 5 years old that has 200,000 miles on it, and another car that's 5 years old that only has 160,000 on it. So by switching the vehicles out in that 5-year period of time, you can actually stretch the life of both vehicles further. So it was an interesting conversation, and something that ultimately I think the county really needs to look at, whether or not it would be done this year or next year or what. But it was very enlightening, and I had mentioned to him, I said, well, depending on the board's take, and if something we want to pursue, obviously he can come in and talk more. But it was interesting as far as how they can track basically they can track every cent per mile, so they know exactly how much that vehicle's costing to the cent. You know, as far as what they've had for tires, oil changes, maintenance, it's all logged to that vehicle, and then how many miles and all this. So there's two aspects. One is getting every single cent out of that vehicle you can, and the other aspect of it is the safety and security, obviously liabilities, make sure you have your seatbelt on, you know, making sure we don't have too many vehicles in one congregated area, things like that, that it's kind of a neat deal. It was, I think he said it was $35 per vehicle to buy this key fob, and then it was only like, I don't know, $100, $200 maybe, or something in the ballpark per year for the subscription. So it was a very inexpensive way to do better management on your fleet vehicles. So something to look into, but it was very interesting. That was about it.
Okay. All right, I had a Selco meeting in Rochester. It was on the 26th. Nothing eventful. Went over to finances, and we accepted Ann Hutton's resignation, I guess. She's going to be retiring in about a year. So we'll be looking for a new director there. Also attended the Southeastern Minnesota League of Municipalities meeting. Really nothing, I guess, as far as county is concerned, but there is some good interaction with municipalities that is a good thing there. Mm-hmm. Also attended the Planning and Zoning meeting at the Justice Center on the 28th. And that is it up to now, up to date.
Okay, I had the CJC meeting with Teresa, and then last week for 3 days I went to the Interoperability Conference in St. Cloud, and I went to it because I'm on the emergency radio board for our district, and I learned a lot. I mean, some of it's over your head, some of it's, you know, just learning about how it all works together was really interesting. And then on Thursday and Friday I interviewed for a jailer at the Sheriff's Department. And then I know, the CETA annual meeting, did everybody get their notice in their email? It's May 13th, a Friday. Is anyone here interested in attending?
Branding Iron?
Yeah, the Branding Iron.
I think Dana's gone in the past.
I've gone to a couple of them. I'll probably go.
Okay.
Well,
So
It's golf and dinner.
Yeah.
yeah, I'll sign up. I got the email.
Okay.
What's
all
the
right.
deadline on that for RSAP?
Please RSVP by May 6th.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so we got that covered. And I think that was all I had to report back. Let's see, what else do we have here? Is there anything else to come before the board before we go into public comment? No, everything's covered? Okay. This being the first Tuesday of May, we're going to do public comment. Please be respectful in your comments, is what we ask, and follow the normal rules. Would anyone like to address the board? Yes, you can come forward and state your name and your township. You can just come right up to the front up here.
I'm Ted Hansen, Union Township, and on this highway shop, I was wondering if you's ever thought of the location where they're at, if they don't build there, what the cost would be in making that land saleable or cleaning it up and whatever. I worked at Cranes, and they tore one building down, and they've been fighting that, and it still ain't sold or nothing because of the oil and this and that in the ground. I was just wondering if you've ever thought of that.
You know, it did come up, I know we talked about, that would have to be looked at as far as what the demolition costs are and salvage. We haven't looked at it hard enough to
And we
have
got
figures,
reports
but-
back that there is no contamination of the soil, so
Yep.
we know that already.
Yeah, and I'm sure those figures, we can ask too, the HSR was gonna do some review of that land out there. In the comparisons, we can ask that question too, if we can get
As far as I'm concerned, if they'd arrange the buildings and the setup out there, they'd have all the room they need.
Yeah. Thank you, Ted.
Would anyone else like to address the board? Please come forward and state your name and
Brian Van Gorp, Yucatan Township. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the Ken Burns special about the national parks, America's Best Idea.
Very nice.
One of the things that was abundantly clear there is that the struggle between preservation and extraction has been going on for 150 years at least in this country. And while each of these parks was trying to be established, there was very harsh fight with commercial interests. But after the parks were established, most generally, the people were very happy to have them. And the value of something, if it's preserved, goes on forever. Whereas if it's extracted, there's some value for a short period of time, and then it's gone. People don't come to see scars in the earth. They come to see nature preserved. And the Boundary Waters canoe area in Minnesota versus the slag heaps that were part of the iron mining industry in northern Minnesota is a good example of that. What has value to us today? Furthermore, based on the land stewardship study, where it was found that 50% of the mines in Wisconsin are out of compliance with the rules of those counties, we can, I think, safely say that regulation will not work. Also, a University of Minnesota Law School professor has said that it is legal to ban an activity based on end use. So I think we can put that one to rest. And the idea that there'll be lawsuits if you create a ban, well, look at the lawsuits in this county that have already been had because frac sand mining was attempted. And who do we remember and who do we honor? I don't know the name of a single logger who clear-cut a mountain, but I know John Muir's name. You have to get past this idea that by extracting things we're creating wealth. No, what we're doing is privatizing the commons. We're stealing from the people so an individual can make short-term money. I would like you to think about those things.
thank you. Would you like to come forward and give your name and where you live?
Morning, Commissioners. Ken Jumper from La Crescent Township. I don't come here to insult or be highly critical, but I think this county board looks really incredibly indecisive in dealing with this highway building. I certainly want to reinforce what Mr. Hansen said. You can never convert that land where the existing building is to residential use without substantial cleanup costs. And you don't have to believe me, ask the county highway engineer. Secondly, there are people all over this county who want a lower cost building not to exceed $1.5 million. It isn't just a few business people here in Caledonia. And thirdly, I don't know if you noticed, but the farm economy is really hurting, and the long-term projections over the next 5 to 10 years is the farm economy is going to continue to hurt financially. Property taxes have grown over the last 10 or 15 years in this state to be a major cost in farming. We don't need to be spending tax dollars where we don't need to be spending tax dollars. You can build a very adequate building for $1.5 million that will suit all the needs and demands of the highway department in this county. And I see no reason to continue to have this discussion about spending $6 or $7 million. People can't afford that. There's nothing wrong with being frugal or saving money. And this is a case with this highway building where you can save $4 million, it seems to me. And I really want to impress that upon you. If you'd have acted more decisively and approved a more modest building a year ago, that building could be almost completed now. And now it'll be another year or more before that building gets completed, no matter what you do. So I would encourage you to start being more decisive, select that building where it is, buy the Quonset next to it, you'll have plenty of acreage, and put the building out there. In the long run, you're going to save a lot of money for this county. Think about the farmers in this county who are going to be hurting for the next 5 to 10 years because of poor commodity prices. Have a good day, Commissioners.
Would anyone else like to address the board? come forward and state your name and location.
Morning, Commissioners. Yvonne Parks of Caledonia Township. I too attended the zoning commission meeting last Thursday, and it was really a good meeting. I was impressed. All the members at one point or another either asked questions or provided comments, so it was a good meeting until the issue of the hearing for the CUP near the former Skyline Supper Club came up. And that even went along well until one of the members suggested having as one of the conditions, having no frac sand mining, which was in the application. When he suggested that, the chairman said, no, that's not necessary. He didn't allow any discussion whatsoever. It was, again, like a dictatorship at that point. After that meeting, and I know a lot of the neighbors in that area, one of them asked me if that was in the conditions. I said, no, unfortunately it wasn't. That person hadn't been able to attend the hearing, so that's why I was asked. So next week, when you consider that CUP, maybe you should think about demonstrating that you really care what the neighbors near these sites, how they feel. And possibly you could put that condition on. After all, that CUP will go with the land. And although it starts out with the operator abiding by the CUP and the conditions, if that no frac sand mining is not one of the conditions, the new operator wouldn't know. So please consider that. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the board? Is there any other business to come before the board?
I guess as a point of clarity on Ms. Krogstad's statement, the position of frac sand extraction was in the application. The application itself was disallowing, or they were disallowing any kind of frac sand extraction on that property. So there was really no need to have it as a condition. It was already in the application.
May I respond to that? A future operator would not look at the application. That operator would look at the CUP.
Future operator, I think, would have to apply. For a
Well,
permit.
not for a conditional use. Yeah, that's, yeah.
Depends on the use.
Okay, well, we can all research this before next week.
Yep.
And anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.